You already know how it be out here on a Monday. And Here With You I Am is the latest release from Reidy, who's an independent rapper, and I think his sound is pretty distinguishable. He's got a pretty delightful, introspective, charming, and thoughtful approach to art rap, I guess, that I can draw comparisons to Milo. I think he raps with a lot of humanity and worry, which I think shines through pretty nicely in his very reflective writing. It's pretty colorful and kind of disjointed production approach as well, which I think has a lot of charm to it at points on this EP, but it's more about, I guess, the execution of this sound. I mean, I think his sound is pretty distinguished, it's pretty unique, but in regards to its execution, I'm not sure if it's 100% there, but I think ultimately he's come through with a pretty fulfilling and endearing package with this new EP. I think it's pretty solid. The opening track, though, Fool, I thought it got off to a bit of a shaky start here. This track presents us with a few vocal snippets that kind of give us these themes of religion and morality, existentialism as well, and this is carried through pretty effectively with lines like story ends the same way it starts, ash in the plains and our essence in the stars, fate going through the fatal hits, here's to hoping it's all what we think it is. There's a lot of confusion and hope on the song. I also thought the metaphor of the leaf sort of waiting to fall into the soil was quite poignant on the hook of this track. There were definitely things to like about the song. I thought the track did a great job at establishing the character of the EP, but there wasn't really a whole lot about the song musically that I found all that engaging, really. I thought Reidy's kind of whiny vocal tone as he was singing kind of added a bit of melodrama to the song that sort of detracted from the weight of the writing for me, and the drums were a little bit cheap and flat too. So as an intro, it didn't really strike me over the head, but it definitely did give me a good idea of what to expect from Reidy as a writer. Lost Kite Theory as well was a very kind of subdued and reflective track with lyrical themes surrounding loneliness and isolation. This track is one of the more human and raw on the record lyrically, but I think the singing just, he didn't sell me with the vocals again. I'm not too sure if I'm fully sold on Reidy's singing. I think it does sound like he doesn't sound like he's trying to clean it up or anything, which is good. It does sound honest, but I'm not sure if it really complements what he says some of the time, and I think some of the vocal layering on this track in particular just sounded a little bit awkward. But still, there are some creative ideas on this track. Like, I like the beatboxing on the beat of this song. I thought that was quite charming and inventive. Dustin's Mustache features this really kind of contemplative and calming guitar loop that I think Reidy raps insanely comfortably over. I think he sounds fantastic on this particular beat. The singing on this track actually goes over great on the hook, and I like how the guitar sort of enters that kind of higher octave during the hook, and it kind of becomes a little bit more fragile, which sort of reflects the pain in his lyrics. Like, there's a real sense of like worry to his voice that I thought was pretty vulnerable, and I appreciate that. Let Down Machine has a beat that reminds me quite a bit of the game Night in the Woods, which is in no way a bad thing. Has a very similarly kind of quirky and quaint sort of personality to it that I definitely enjoy. Works as a nice complement to Reidy's very kind of fractured and unsure delivery. I definitely get a bit of a Milo feel, especially on this particular song, especially with the refrains on this track. Reminds me heavily of Milo, and his singing, weirdly enough, it reminds me quite a bit of the guys over at Have a Nice Life, Dan and Tim. I think his voice has there's a similarity there, I swear to God. The Let Down Machine was definitely one of my favorites. I think the only thing I disliked about the song was the bass line was a little bit too highly mixed. The beat wasn't all the way fully comfortable to me, but that did kind of add to its quirkiness and charm in a way. I think it just could have sounded a little bit more focused, maybe, because the bass line to me just struck me as a little bit obnoxious, but it's whatever still. Good track. And the final song, Mangled, I thought was a really serviceable closer. I thought the verse from Huckwheat was really charismatic. He kind of sounded a little bit like Kendrick Lamar, actually. This track left things off in a similarly very delightfully contemplative and reflective way. The only thing, again, I disliked about the song was probably the singing. I thought they sounded, the vocals, I thought they sounded quite out of place on this particular song. Their incorporation, a lot of the time on this album, again, it does feel very raw and honest, but I just thought the way they're incorporated at points just felt slightly out of place, and they kind of conflicted with the tone of the instrumental. I think he could just work on maybe incorporating his voice in a more sort of comfortable way that blends with everything else that's happening instrumentally, because I think he does sound really raw, but yeah, and that does go a long way. But yeah, I found his singing a lot of the time on this EP to be quite immersion breaking. Overall, this was a really endearing, charming, likable, well put together rap EP that I personally thought had a lot of character and personality. I'd recommend giving it a shot. It's pretty solid. I'd give it a 6 out of 10. I thought it was pretty decent. Definitely worth your time. Definitely worth listening to. And yeah, great job. This is cool. I had a good time with this. So yeah, those are my thoughts on And Here I Am with fuck you. And Here With You I Am by Reidy. Those are my thoughts on the EP. I hope you enjoyed the review. I'll see you on the next one.